Om Vakkaratunga Mahakaya Suryakoti
सूर्यकोटि
Samaprabha
समप्रभा
Nirvignam
निर्विघ्नं
Kuru
कुरु
Me
मे
Deva
देव
Sarvakaryeshu
सर्वकार्येषु
Sarvada
सर्वदा
Saraswati
सरस्वति
Namastubhyam
नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे
Varade
कामरूपिणी
Kamarupini Vidyarambham
विद्यारम्भं
Karishyami
करिष्यामि
Siddhir Bhavatu Me
सिद्धिर्भवतु मे
Sada
सदा
Gurur
गुरु
Brahma
ब्रह्मा
Gurur
गुरु
Vishnu
विष्णुः
Gurudevo
गुरुदेवो
Maheshwara
महेश्वरः
Guru
गुरु साक्षात्
Sakshat
परं
Param
ब्रह्म
Brahma Tasmai
तस्मै
Shri
श्री गुरवे
Gurave
नमः।
Namaha Om
ॐ
Sahana
सहना
Bhavatu
ववतु सहनौ
Sahano
भुनक्तु
Bhunaktu
सह
Sahaviryam
वीर्यं करवावहै
Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhetamastu ma
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
vidvishavahai
विद्विषावहै।
Om
ॐ शान्ति
Shanti
शान्ति
Shanti
शान्तिः।
Shanti Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha
ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः।
Atadvitiyodhyayah
अथ द्वितीयोऽध्यायः।
Shri Bhagavanuvacha
श्रीभगवानुवाच
Shloka number 19 up to 18 we have seen. Further, Yayenam veti hantaram
य एनं वेधि हन्तारम्
Yaschainam manyate hatam. Ubhau tau na vijanitaha nayam hanti na hanyate. An important shloka is this. Yaha enam veti, enam is this atma, atmanam veti, antaram iti, the killer. Yaha enam hatam iti veti, who thinks atma to be killed, that is object of killing. Ubhau, they both of them do not know the truth because atma nahanti nahanyate. It doesn't kill and it cannot be killed also. It is not an object available for killing. Killing is just an action, a kriya. Killing is the action, ultimate action after which that something doesn't survive. Killing, destruction. That act, that kriya is taken as an upalakshana for all the kriya. So no kriya, no karma can be done on atma. It means atma is untouched. Similarly, atma cannot be the killer. It means it cannot be the doer. That is the meaning. It cannot be the karta. Not only literally killing. Killing means eating, walking, sleeping, talking, all the kriyas. Why killing action? Here the context is war, yuddha. Therefore, killing we can take. Or there is a nyaya, pratama malla nyaya. If killing itself is denied for atma, then what to talk about other action? What to talk about the other abhimanatvam, kartritvam for atma? Not there. That is the idea. So both the one who thinks that this self to be the killer and the one who thinks of it as a kill do not know because atma doesn't kill, doesn't do any kriya, atma doesn't have kartritvam, nor is it killed, nor it is an object of action. That is the idea. This shloka is similar shloka. This shloka is lifted from Kathopanishad. The Kathopanishad mantra. This shloka as well as another shloka also. Therefore, Gita has got some shlokas which are similar to the mantras in the Kathopanishad. So here, Swamiji says, this verse and the next verse were lifted from Kathopanishad with some change and put a little differently by Lord Krishna. He need not have quoted an Upanishad, since he had the authority to propound the vision in his own way. But he respected the Upanishad because it is a means of knowledge, a pramana grantha, Shabda Pramanam, Upanishad. Therefore, Bhagavan Krishna himself quoting Kathopanishad, this shloka. Therefore, whatever he says should have sanction of the Upanishad, Pramanatvat. Krishna doesn't point out elsewhere, Krishna does point out elsewhere in the Gita that the Upanishads were his own creation. He says, I am the one to be known through the Vedas. Vedaischa sarve ahameva vedyaha. It says in the 15th chapter, I am the one who initiated these Vedas. Thus, throughout the Gita, Krishna always talks as Ishvara. Whether we accept him as Ishvara or not, Krishna talks as though he was. The entire dialogue in the Gita was between Ishvara in the form of Krishna and Arjuna. That is how Vyasacharya presents it. As Ishvara, Krishna naturally doesn't need to substantiate his statement. At the same time, however, the Gita has a certain historicity in that it came from a given mind, Krishna's mind, at a given time. What is heard and received by one generation from another is called Shruti. Whereas what is born of someone's mind is called Smriti. Shruyate iti Shrutihi, Smaryate iti Smritihi. Shruti is heard, Smriti is remembered. So what Krishna says as a status of Smriti and not Shruti. Any Smriti must have the sanction of the Shruti. And if it is against the Shruti, then Smriti is to be looked at again to see whether it has some other meaning that will conform to the Shruti. If it doesn't conform in all areas from the beginning to the end, then the Smriti has to be dismissed. This being the tradition, Bhagavan in so many words confirms the Shruti. He didn't say that this is what the Shruti says, but he did put the words of the Shruti in a different form here. There are several instances in the Gita where such verses have been lifted from the Upanishads, mainly the Kathopanishad, for the purpose of validating what is being said. Shankaracharya begins his commentary of this verse by saying that Bhagavan presents the next two verses taken from the Kathopanishad to support what he has been saying, meaning that the Shruti is a pramanam, that is like a witness. Generally, to validate an event that took place, you have a witness who says, yes, I saw that happen. Similarly, to validate what you are saying, Bhagavan needed a witness and called upon one. The Shastra Pramana has a status of a witness here, Sakshi. The Shruti being a Pramanam is self-valid. It doesn't require any validation by any other Pramanam. All that is necessary is that it doesn't contradict any other Pramanam. If the Shruti can be contradicted by any other means of knowledge, it ceases to be a Pramanam. In other words, the Shruti need not be validated by any other Pramanam for it to be established as a Pramanam. Anadhigata, Abhadita, Arthavata, Jnana Janakam Pramanam. That is a definition of Pramanam. That is why reasoning is required, so that you can prove that it is not contradicted in any way. If someone says the Shruti is contradicted by his or her experience, then reasoning is used to show how the person's conclusion regarding the Shruti or one's experience is wrong. By reasoning, then we show that what the Shruti says is not contradicted by any other means of knowledge and is therefore a Pramanam. The word enam in this verse refers to Atma, which is self-evident, which is Sat, the very basis, the truth, the Adhishtaran, the Tattvam of all Asat, and which is Mithya and Aprameya, all of which has been stated previously. Yaha refers to the one who looks upon this Atma as the agent, the Karta of the action of killing, Hanta. So Hanta is killer, Handatu, killing, the one who kills, killer, Hanta, one who does, Karta. So Yaha, who looks upon this Atma as a killer, Hanta, even though the action of killing, Haranakriya, doesn't have the same context in the Kathopanishad, as in the Gita, where there was going to be a war, it was nevertheless used in the Upanishad, where there was no war at all. Even in the Upanishad, it is used Antaram. To understand the reason for this, the analogy of a world champion wrestler or boxer is helpful. Pratama Malla Nyaya, that is called analogy. Nyaya. In order to become the world champion, you need not fight against everyone in your particular neighborhood. Nor do you need to fight all of humanity. You need only knock out the current world champion. Nothing more is required. Similarly, of all actions that a human being is capable of doing, the one that is universally considered to be the most unbecoming is killing. That is why this action is cited in this shloka. I never kill, and I am never killed. Means I'm not the doer, and I'm not the object of any action also. With reference to killing, Atma is looked upon in two different ways in this shloka. One person may consider the Atma to be the killer, Hanta, the doer of the action of killing, and another person may consider himself or herself to be the object of killing. One thinks Atma is a Karta, the doer of the Hananakriya, the act of killing, and the other one thinks that the Atma is a Karma, the object of Hananakriya, meaning that he or she is subject to destruction. The one who looks upon the Atma as subject to destruction thinks that Atma can be objectified. Therefore, Krishna says here, both of them do not know the Atma. Ubhautona vijaritaha. Both of them na vijanitaha. Atma doesn't perform the act of killing, nor is it destroyed by anyone else. It is neither a killer nor the object of anyone's killing. Na ayam hanti na hanyate. This means that Atma is neither karta nor karma. If Atma can neither kill nor be killed, again the question must be asked, how can one grieve? No one can harm Atma, nor can the Atma harm itself. It is not a karta. Not even Ishvara can destroy the Atma, as Shankaracharya pointed out. In the previous shloka, we saw the karta karma, the subject object, karta karma. Karma is object, karta the subject. The subject object division is not possible for Atma. And this statement is validated in the present shloka, which is a replica of the Shruti. Atma, therefore, is neither the subject of an action nor the object of an action. The status of doership, kartrutvam, is superimposed upon the Atma, while Atma itself is akarta. Some insight can be gained here by looking at the meaning of the word sarva karma sannyasa. In fact, there are two types of sannyasa, sannyasa as a lifestyle and sarva karma sannyasa. Karma sannyasa is present in both types of sannyasa. Sannyasa as a lifestyle as well as sarva karma sannyasa. When sannyasa is taken as a lifestyle, all obligatory duties, including religious duties, Vedika karma, are given up by performing a certain ritual. This ritual is the last ritual a sannyasi performs, one that absolves him or her from those rituals and duties that are enjoined by the Vedas. This is a karma sannyasa, the renunciation of all enjoined karma. But this karma sannyasa doesn't remove the doership, the kartrutvam in you. Sarva karma sannyasa is knowing the Atma, the I, Aham, as free from action. The knowledge that I perform no action, Aham na kinchit karomi, I am not a doer, Aham na karta, frees me from all actions. This freedom is called sannyasa here. So sarva karma sannyasa is through jnanam, and sannyasa as lifestyle, giving up karma, that is also sarva karma sannyasa. That the person he has kartrutvam. That sannyasa doesn't remove the kartrutvam. Whereas sarva karma sannyasa, it is because of jnanam, that kartrutvam not there. So one jnanam is there, the other one, it is not, there is no jnanam, but by sannyasa, the person has given up the karma. I am not the doer. No. With regard to here, Atma is always free from karma, always free from action. No karma is attached to the Atma. The one who takes I am the doer is ignorant. Atma is always free from karma, free from kartrutva. Therefore, by jnanam, one who knows Agam, myself to be that Atma, which is akarta, That is Sarva Karma Sannyasa. That is the nature of Atma. Atma being from all the karma, action. That is the nature, Sarva Karma Sannyasa. So therefore, Sarva Karma Sannyasa is knowing the Atma as Agam, free from action. That is knowledge. I am not the doer. Later we will see in the Gita that a person who by knowledge gives up all the karmas knows full well that Agam, the Atma, doesn't perform any action, na karma karoti. The doership that one has can be with reference to either an enlightened doer or an unenlightened doer. An enlightened doer is one who knows I am not the karta, even though he or she still performs action. The jnani knows very well that Agam na karta, but continues to perform action. This is not to say that there is no doer. There is a doer, but its reality. Its reality is negated. Its reality with reference to me is negated. No one can perform an action without a sense of doership. Everyone has to recognize that I perform this action. Even to speak, one has to identify with the body and the organ of speech, and thus there is a karta. There is a subject and an action done, a talker and the act of talking, for instance. Whether it is Krishna talking or Vyasa writing, Shankaracharya commenting, or any enlightened person doing anything, there is definitely a karta. But it is an enlightened karta, meaning that the person doesn't look upon himself or herself as a karta. The Atma is no longer mistaken to be the karta. Thus, there is an enlightened Agankara and an unenlightened Agankara. The Agankara is not something to be afraid of. All that we are aiming at is the removal of the Ajnanam, which makes the Atma a Karta, a doer, as though Atma is free from all action. And this is not known by anyone who looks upon Atma as the Karta. The one who thinks I subject myself to the influence of the world, or the world is too much with me, doesn't know the Atma. The world is not too much with you. The world is you, and you are free from the world. That I am the basis, the Sat, the truth of the whole creation, and at the same time I am free from everything is something that I must understand. It is this jnanam, therefore, that is taught in the Gita, the essence of which appears in the next shloka. This shloka also from Kathopanishad with a little modification. Let us chant. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit. Na chant. Nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyah. Ajo nityashashvatoyam puranaha. Na hanyate hanyamane sharire. Another beautiful shloka. Ayam atma na jayate. It is not born. Na mriyate. It doesn't die. Therefore, atma is never born, not born, doesn't die. Kadachita ayam atma bhutva abhavitana bhuyaha. Having been, it will not cease to be, it will not disappear, it will not go away again. It is ajaha, nityaha, shashvataha, puranaha. It is unborn, it is not subject to time. Nityaha, shashvataha, doesn't undergo any change without undergoing any change. Puranaha, purapi navaha. It is old at the same time new, always new. Na hanyate, hanyamane sharire. Even when the body is killed, it is not killed. So it is different from the body. It is different. Na hanyate. That is Atma. As it's connected to the previous shloka, it cannot be an object of kriya. It is not a karma. It is not a karta. It is not a karma. So na jayate mriyate. Neither born nor die. It means all the shad vikaras. Asti jayate, vadate, viparinamate, apakshiyate, vinashyati. All the sixfold changes are denied for Atma. So this is another beautiful shloka to be contemplated. So this Atma self is never born, nor does it die. It is not that having been, it ceases to again. So having been, it doesn't go. It is not. The self is Atma is unborn, Ajaha. It is Nityaha, undergoes no change whatsoever. Shashvataha, and ever new, Puranaha. Sharire Anyamane Atmana. Even when the body is destroyed, Atma is not destroyed. So the Atma doesn't perform any action, nor does it subject itself to any action as an object of action because it is unchanging. Avikriyaha, Avikriyaha Atma. There must be some change on the part of one who performs the action for an action to occur. To do a kriya, a karma, there must be change happening in the person, in some part of the person. Then only action is possible. You have to move your limbs or legs to do some action. And also, to subject oneself to be in action is to undergo some change because whatever has been subjected to an action doesn't remain the same. So you have to undergo a change to do a kriya. Water, for example, when eaten, it is an object of the act of eating and is not the same after subjecting itself to that action. Thus, if Atma were subject to change, it would be possible for it to be a subject or an object, a karta or a karma. It would be able to perform actions and subject itself to an action also if Atma is a karta. If Atma was subject to change. But since the Atma is not subject to any form of change, it is neither karta nor karma. It doesn't change, nor does any other condition bring about a change to it. This verse from the Shruti was cited here to uphold this particular vision that Atma is avikriyaha, unchanging. Avikriyaha, Atma doesn't undergo any change. Therefore, it cannot be karta because to be a karta, a change is involved. Atma is akarta. Similarly, cannot be a karma. To be a karma, again, requires change. Atma doesn't undergo any change. Therefore, neither karta nor karma. The previous shloka was also taken from the Kathopanishad and put in Krishna's own words, was in the Anushtup meter, the more common of the 2 meters found in the Gita. Whereas this shloka is in the Trishtup meter, Trishtup Chandas. The Mahabharata and the Ramayana generally follow the Anushtup meter, it being a very popular one and easy to chant. Because the verse in Trishtup meter, it cannot be chanted in the same way as the other shloka. Each meter demands its own style when chanting or reciting it, and the tune has to be discovered. Krishna wanted to make 2 points here. Atma is not born, na jayate, nor does it die, na mriyate. There is no such change as birth or death for Atma. Birth, Janma means that certain changes have taken place and such changes are not for Atma. There are many types of births. For instance, previously something was not, and then afterwards it came into being like a pot. Or previously something was in one form, now it is in another form, like a seed that having been in a seed form, now it is in a plant form, therefore change. There has been a sprouting and something new is born, but only the form has changed. Thus, for the Atma, there are no such births. There is no change of form. There is no something. Nothing. It doesn't come to existence as a new existence because it is always ever existent. There is no birth from abhava to bhava, non-existence to existence for Atma. It also doesn't have a birth from bhava to bhava, changing from one form to another form, bhava to bhava, existing one form and then assuming another. Atma undergoes no change at all, meaning it neither dies nor is born. There are two basic types of vikriyas, changes. One is a change of being born, another is a change that spells death. Neither of these vikriyas are there for Atma at any time. Therefore, na jayate, na mriyate va kadachit, anytime. This means then the Atma being existent now doesn't become extinct later. And it was not non-existent before it came into being. Nor having existed in another form, does it assume a new form now. The first change implying birth and the last change implying death, both have been negated. Therefore, all other changes in between, growth, metamorphosis, and decline are also dismissed for the Atma because there is no vikriya, there is no change whatsoever. So therefore, Atma na jayate na mriyate. Atma is not born and doesn't die. Krishna also said in this shloka that Atma having been before doesn't again become non-existent. Ayam bhutva abhavita. Abhavita na vana bhuyaha. What is the sense of again here? Again, having been, Atma doesn't become non-existent. Death is having been, one is no more. Such a situation is not there for Atma. Atma was, is, and will ever be the same because Atma is not subject to time. It is avikriyaha, not subject to change. This is one meaning. A person who was there before and is no more is said to be dead. Such a person is gone, and no one can say where he or she went. However, you cannot say the same for the son of a barren woman. He did never existed at any time. Therefore, you cannot say that having existed, he ceases to exist now. A non-existent thing doesn't die. The barren woman dies, but her son doesn't. Death only applies when having been, something goes away. A similar change that doesn't happen to Atma. Atma is not subject to a futuristic extinction, which means that it is not subject to time in terms of the future in any way. Nor is it subject to time in terms of the past. That something did not exist before and has come now into being in another situation that is called Janma, birth. Having not been before, it came to existence. Having not been before it came into existence, the one who is born is the one who, having not been there before, comes to being. Abhutva bhavita. Abhutva bhavita. Previously it was non-existent, and later it comes to existence. This also doesn't apply to Atma. Therefore, the words in the verse, the shloka can be put it differently. Atma was not non-existent previously, and there will not be no time when it doesn't exist. Either way you can take it. Bhutva abhavita na, abhutva bhavita na. Having been, not that it will cease to be. Having not been, it will come into being. Both are not there for Atma. Both meanings are given by Shankaracharya here for the same line. Both meanings are there in this shloka. How it is there in the shloka, both the meanings, because of the sandhi. Because of this sandhi. Bhutva. Bhutva. Here, adding one a. Adding one a, abhutva. Abhutva bhavita or bhutva abhavita. So that therefore both meaning can be taken. Even the shloka doesn't, shloka just adding one more akara, that means Shankaracharya explains in that way. Both meanings are given. Having not been and then coming into being, which is called Janma, birth, is not there for Atma na jayate. Having been and disappearing, which is called death, that is also not there for Atma, namriyate. This being so, Atma is what? It is ajaha, because it is not subject to death. The word Nitya also implies that Atma is not bound by time. It is not an object within time, bound by time. It is something on which the time depends for its existence. Therefore, and is therefore ajaha, nityaha. The word shashvata meaning that which is always the same, that never undergoes any change, was also necessary here to eliminate the possibility of the Atma being taken for something eternal, nitya, but continuously changing, eternally changing. That to negate that only shashvata is there. Nitya means that is not subject to time, it is there forever. A thing can be there forever, undergoing change. That Atma is not like that. Therefore, the word Shashvataha word also is used to avoid this continuously changing the idea. Atma doesn't change, it is being there all the time, it is there as it is. Nor does Atma grow old. Therefore, the changes that the physical body is subject to between birth and death, the growth, metamorphosis, changes, and decline are also not there for Atma. Another word describing the Atma in this shloka, Purana, generally means ancient, but here it refers to that which is ever fresh. Pura api navaha. Even though Atma was fresh earlier, it is still fresh. Always it is fresh. Atma is timeless and is the very content of the meaning of the word new, never. It was never then and it is never now. It is new now and previously also it is new. So it is ever new. It is always new. It doesn't grow old. There is no aging, vriddhi, no declension, no decline, apakshiya for the Atma. In other words, Even when the Sharira, the body is destroyed, the Atma is not destroyed. Anyamane Sharire na hanyate Atma. It is always the same. We have seen then that the Atma is neither the subject nor the object of any action, which is why it cannot be affected by Punya and Papa or destroyed by anyone, not even Ishvara. If it were the subject of an action, it would necessarily undergo a change in order to perform the action. A new action cannot emanate in any other way. The subject, the doer of the action, has a thought or desire, sankalpa, and undergoes whatever change is necessary to perform the action. For example, the desire to see something. Let me look at the book means that the person becomes a karta. There is a sankalpa, and the one with the sankalpa becomes the subject, the doer, and the doer undergoes a change. The change is in the form of sankalpa, anxiety, and so on. And the part of the doer, the subject. The subject performs the action. If the Atma is a karta, then the Atma itself must undergo this vikriya, the change. That this self-evident Atma undergoes no change, and it is therefore neither karta nor karma was made clear in the previous shlokas. Therefore, only an Atma that undergoes change, a vikriyavan Atma, can be a karta. Similarly, if the Atma is subject of any action, it would be affected by any action perpetrated by someone towards it, you, the Atma. A karma action is that which brings about a change to this object of action. For instance, if I hit an object with a hammer, that object, the recipient of that action, must undergo some kind of change, and that change is the result of that particular karma hitting. Similarly, if Atma is the object of any kind of action, it must also undergo a change. Therefore, we would have a Vikriyavan Atma, an Atma which is subject to change, but Atma is Avikriyaha. Atma doesn't undergo any change. Therefore, Atma always it is Avikriyaha. All the changes are witnessed by whom? In the presence of that, all the changes happen, and that which doesn't undergo any change has to be free from kartrutvam, has to be free from being an object. It is neither the subject nor the object. It cannot be any of the karakas. Therefore, avikriyaha atma. Atma is atma, there is no karma. Iti, this says, then the next heading, changing and the changeless, that we will see in next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate.
Vashishyate.
Om
Om
Shanti Shanti
Shanti
Shanti. Harihi Om.
Harihi Om.
Shri
Shri
Gurubhyo
Guru
Namaha.
Harihi
Harihi
Om.
Om.
Dhanyavadaha.
Dhanyavadaha.